The second questline related to the second arc storyline of Ghost Simulator is Ghost Hunter Morgan. He's also the first one actually involved in the second arc Rebirth perk, and is located over in the Block City environment in the main hub. Today we'll be going over his questline similar to that we did of Archie's earlier, which if you haven't watched that video, you guys can go check the link out in any of the info boxes and see what that looks like. And without any further ado, we'll hop right into the lore hunting. The first bit of lore that we get from Morgan comes right at the beginning of his questline, in just the little introduction he has before you even start his quest, where he mentions that Archimedes had already told him about the player, and then that he was part of the associates that Archie mentioned quite a bit of. He also went on to continue that the associates need the help of the player, and that they have a pet for us, but that really isn't too important to the lore. Right before the first questline starts, in his opening dialogue still, he also continues to mention how because the player is unchangeable, that the associates are going to need their help, and has you go gather a few ghosts for him to collect information from. Once you finish quest number 1, you get a little bit more information as to what's going on, as Morgan mentions that they're collecting some data from these items collected. And as you start into the second questline, you also get a little bit more information that there might be some time travel business going on, as they mentioned so little time, but there may be more than what they know, which seems a little bit confusing unless there's some sort of time manipulation going on. Later on that same opening dialogue, he also mentions how Archimedes has been collecting quite a bit of information on it, and that it's kind of a shame that Archie was hidden away for so long. As you finish up the second questline, you're treated to a little bit more information on what's going on, as Morgan mentions remnants being everywhere, and being able to be seen from the data being collected. This seems to be very important since remnants are very interesting in the scope of the game. As you move on to the start of the third questline, he also seems to be communicating with other people and doesn't really seem to want the player to know about it. He goes on to state that the mask he wears helps him hide from the developers, and that it was built from parts that Archie scavenged from a unnamed source, which seems to be very interesting since that unnamed source seems to be pretty powerful. In the middle of the introduction to the fourth quest, Morgan mentions how they are looking for more of something interesting, and that the information brought through the samples that you've given to him already have actually revealed some of it already to them. At the beginning of the fifth questline, there's another very interesting revelation given, that the discoveries that are being made is that there's remnants of code in the ectoplasm and items that Morgan's having you gather, and that the associates have actually discovered this through their own research, and that Archie is working on decoding information to figure out something. At the beginning of quest number 7, Morgan goes over why they picked the name that they did, the Associates of the Forgotten. It was because that they were originally complete NPCs involved in the Ghost Simulator, but once they gained the sentience that they did, they were cast out by the developers since they were no longer needed, and that they were quite hurt by it, and that was the reason why they were picked the name Associates of the Forgotten. At that point, they go have you burn some items at the incinerator to hopefully get a little bit more data for what they're trying to research. As you finish quest number 7, you're told that incendiary items did not actually help with gathering data, but as you begin into quest number 8, you get some more information about some interesting stuff coming from the back door, including a signal which is apparently being sent from different people into somewhere. The beginning of quest number 9 opens up a little bit more detail, revealing that the stuff coming from the back door are like little puzzles pieces, and that they need to really be patched together to figure out what's going on there. And that meanwhile, Archie was able to trace the location and working on deciphering the message. At the end of quest number 9, Morgan reveals that they have received a message regarding something, but as you start into quest number 10, they realize that their messages have actually been blocked by an unknown person, and that they need you to go grab some items to distract whatever was blocking the signal for them. After finishing that quest, Morgan has checked the boundaries of the world and is confident that the haze is starting to go away. So whichever was blocking the signal is related to a weird haze. And then as you go along, it seems that Morgan was really distressed with that and needs to calm down a little bit. And so he has you go and figure out some more ghosts to help uncover some more information for Archie. They also say that the signals were coming from the back door and that they need to gather some more information to figure out what's actually going on. After you finish Quest 11, Morgan tells you that you have uncovered quite a bit of stuff from that last batch of gathering items. And as you start into 12, he goes over a brief recap of what you already know. That opening the back door has caused a lot of problems, and that Archie noticed a lot of weird things have been changing just because of that. And the glitches that were present in the back door were coming out into all the other worlds. They also say that the back door really wasn't even supposed to exist. It was the incomplete and original code, and it is kind of poisoning the other world. After finishing Quest 12, Morgan remarks how rebirthing does change things, but that even might be for the good. As you start into Quest 13, he says that the Associates of the Forgotten are actually been working together to explore these remnants for a personal project, and that it is to help one of his friends that is kind of in need of it. As you finish up Quest 13, it seems that you catch him off guard as he's saying, "I understand everyone has been waiting oh so patiently. You've been doing great with translating," to someone else, and then switches over to talking to the player. As you continue into Quest 14, he says to not be suspicious of them, that just because they're forgotten does not mean that they were correlated to who they were originally meant to be. I mean that maybe we should have been really suspicious of them if they were who they were meant to be, but maybe from them changing they're quite a bit different. They also mention how they are trying to figure out where the signal is going to, that even though it is coming from a back door, they don't know where exactly it's heading to, and to help with that, they have you go destroy a boss, hoping that the amount of energy that's released from there will help them in their search. As you finish up that quest, he remarks how defeating the boss did actually do what they wanted it to. And then as you start into 15, he remarks how that he is getting direct orders from one of their leaders as to what to say, and that defeating that boss had revealed another access point for them to trace that location, and they just needed a few more bosses to pinpoint a little bit more so that they know exactly where it's heading off to. As you finish up this last quest, Morgan remarks that they really don't know what exactly this message is going to mean for the NPCs, but at least for the player, they won't be able to change since they are unchangeable. As they move through, they tell you that the access points allowed them to uncover where the messages are being sent from, which is actually from the Ghost World, which they found extremely curious and really want to dig deeper into what's happening. And as they finish up, they give the player a pet and kind of just end it off right there with a little bit of a cliffhanger as to what exactly the message means and what exactly it's going to do. Now, in the unfinished dialogue of his quest, he has two remarkable lines. One mentioning that there's many eyes watching the player, and that because of that they probably need to hurry up. And one remarking how time is running out, and that is kind of ominous sounding. Once you finish all of his quests, he does have a few additional quotes that can be done by just going back and talking to him. Two of which remark that you should probably stay separated away from him for some unknown reason. And that another one remarking that trust is earned in that they trust you. Who they is at this time is kind of unrevealed. Most players are assuming this is the devs, but it's really unknown what exactly this is referring to. And with that, that is all the lore I could find in Ghost Hunter Morgan's questline. There is still 2 more NPCs in the second arc lore of Ghost Simulator, so if you are interested in seeing the lore hunting from those questlines, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment letting me know that. And thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you guys learned something about Ghost Simulator lore today.